Hey guys, it's Tyler with TCG Rewind. Today we're going to be doing a little deck profile, talking about a deck that's very important to me. I actually played this deck at YCS Kansas City back in the day, and that deck is going to be TG Agents. So we got the cards right here. We're going to lay it out for you. Here's the main deck. Yeah, we're just going to hop right into it.
Time warp, go!
I'm going to go over some of the cards. This deck actually just looks so incredible now after Ghost from the Past 2 was released. It's one of my favorite decks of the format. I think it's really strong. And honestly, like, as far as like a budget deck goes, if you're looking to get into this format and you want something that's a bit cheaper, I think this is like a really good starter deck. Not only because a lot of the cards in it are splashable and other things, but also because of the fact that Agents is easily one of the, if not the strongest deck of the format. And you really just can't go wrong with it, especially given how cheap it is now that Ghost from the Past 2 came out and just reprinted all those agents. And it's ultra rares, they look incredible. So yeah, I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So we have one copy of BLS, one copy of Christia. Yeah, this card looks absolutely incredible. But yeah, luckily this card came super rare, so if you don't have a secret, you can go for that route. And then we have three Master Hyperion. These came ultra in Ghost from the Past 2. They look great. They were originally ultra in the structure deck as well, but I do think these Ghosts from the Past 2 look a little bit nicer, at least in my opinion. We run one Gores, the Emissary of Darkness, and then two Thunder Kings. So this deck doesn't opt to run like the traditional like Chaos Agent stuff. It uses cards like Thunder King because we're trying to control your opponent a bit better. This deck really excels at getting set up with like a Gotchi through like Striker into a Earth can make a Gotchi, or like obviously Venus into Shine Balls. So this basically gives you the option to make big Thunder Kings, and this card already is a nightmare to deal with for like plants especially. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to just main this card and go for a more control agent build instead of a I guess like more of a combo like Chaos variant. But this card is amazing. It's so good. Then we run three Agent of Creation Venus. You can see this card looks so good as an ultra rare. I'm so happy they printed it like this. But yeah, this is bread and butter of the deck. You summon your Shine Balls, you get the Gotchi. I can tell you, back in YCS Kansas City, my strategy with this deck is I would turn one, summon Venus, make a Gotchi, and I would just pass on it. And I swear you could just sit on this board until your opponent dark holes. And that's what I did. I would literally just force my opponent to burn resources on Venus and Gotchi, and as soon as they committed a bunch of cards to doing that, I would just summon my Hyperions and pop off, and I swear it got me so far in that YCS just doing that. Then lastly, three Earth. This is also pretty standard. This gets you your Venus. It's a level 2, so it can make Gotchis. It's also a tuner, so you can synchro with it. Super versatile card, incredible. You definitely need to max out on both that and Venus. We will have one copy of Honest. This card, pretty self-explanatory. You can use it on your Thunder Kings. That's really nice, but also just, uses it on anything to get over anything. Then we have these three Shine Balls, and look at these beautiful ultra rare Shine Balls. I heard about there's like a ghost misprint of these, which I think could be kind of cool. But we'll get into the extra deck later, and you'll see how I feel about ghost rares. You know what I'm saying? Then for the TG engine, we have specifically two TG Striker and then three Warwolf. So this is like the whole TG package you're running. You're not running Rush Rhino or anything like that. The reason for this is these cards just like combo really nicely with the rest of the deck. So like for example, I remember at YCS Kansas City, I was going against a player playing Dark Worlds, and he set up like, I think he had 4 back row, a monster, and gateway, or not gateway, gates of Dark World on the field. And I just remember special summoning Striker, normaling Venus, making a Gotchi, and then synchroing with the last Shine Ball in the Venus for Black Rose, and I just nuked his whole board, and for like the cost of 2 cards in exchange for 5, and like the game, it was just a blowout. He like somehow didn't have warning, and I got to keep the Gotchi because it can like protect itself. So yeah, it was really, really good. But this card is super versatile, and then the Warwolf is actually your dark for the BLS. This is going to be your target for BLS, and since like these guys search each other in the end phase, it's pretty easy to get to this guy by the time you're ready to summon BLS. So yeah, it's really not that big of a deal if you don't have a ton of darks going for you, simply because you have access to them through like the searches of this. But yeah, both these cards are really good. You can special Warwolf off of like the summon of a Shine Ball, or even off the summon of a Striker. So it's like a free level 5 synchro if you need it to be. It can be an Exceed. This can be used for a Gotchi. Yeah, they just do so much in this deck, and that's kind of where the ceiling of TG agents is sometimes a bit higher than your traditional agent build, just because of how good these cards really are with the rest of the deck. It's like hard to explain. You just kind of got to try it, and you'll get a feel for just like how relevant these cards actually are in the deck. And then lastly, we have hand traps. So at YCS Kansas City, I opted for 3 Effect Veiler instead of doing like any ratio of Max C. Reason for this is there's just not enough matchups where Max C is like super relevant. Sometimes it's just really dead. If you go against TGs or something, it doesn't feel that good. So I felt Veiler was a bit more generic, and I also just like that it's a light. So yeah, I'd opt for this, and then I would side the Max Cs in the event that I'd run into a matchup that I needed it. But yeah, we'll get into the side deck a bit later. Now we're going on to the spells. So this deck actually has a really low spell trap count, and that's just because all the monsters are really, really good. So we're gonna start with this Monster Reborn. We got the the Prismatic. I know there's people out there that are gonna say, you gotta go with the LOB first ed. That's the only way. But let me tell you, people spend like $400 on Prismatic anything else. Just because this is only worth $1 doesn't mean it doesn't look good. You know what I'm saying? So I go for the Prismatic Monster Reborn. I think it's the good one to do. But yeah, so Monster Reborn doesn't really need an explanation. Really, really good card. We got Dark Hole. Again, doesn't need an explanation. This, it's one of the Trinity. The third card of the Trinity being Heavy Storm. Also doesn't need explanation. This deck actually hates back row. It hates dealing with back row. So a lot of times people would even max out on like 3 MST and a Heavy Storm. I only opted for 2 MST and a Heavy Storm, but that was mostly because of the playstyle I was kind of approaching, and the fact that you're running TGs means you have floaters, you have access to Wonder Magician to pop back row. So I didn't really feel like it was super necessary. I run Creature Swap. This is because you're running TGs, so you could like special a Striker and then just creature swap it. Doesn't cost your normal summon, you steal their monster, and then you get to search a Warwolf later. That, or there's another really good play where you normal a Venus, you pay the full 1500, you get a Gotchi, and then you put the third Shine Ball in attack, and you creature swap away that Shine Ball, so you steal whatever monster they have. That's really good. Or it's like a way to deal with Thunder King even. Your opponent normals Thunder King for a turn 1, you summon the Venus, you special all 3 Shine Balls, you creature swap 1 away, and then you can make Gotchi and have their Thunder King. It's really cracked. So yeah, this card actually comes up quite a bit. I think it's like a perfect one of. You don't want to run any more than that, but it is a really, really nice card. Then we run Mind Control. This is just it's just generically good. There's a lot of ways to like use it. I like it because you can, like, if your opponent like normals tour guide, like say you're going against plants turn 1, they normal tour guide, they get a Sangan, you special Warwolf off the summon of their Sangan, they can't attack because it's turn 1, then on your turn you just mind control their Sangan and Exceed, and now they don't get the search and you get a monster they have to deal with. Pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there's a million uses for Mind Control. It's a really good card. Then yeah, here the last spells are just the 2 MST. This is pretty standard. Like I said, a lot of decks would even run 3 of this card. It's pretty good in the main deck. Now we're going on to the traps. We run 2 bottomless trap hole. Most builds didn't run bottomless or didn't really run a lot of traps. I opted to try to put in as many as I possibly could, just because of the type of deck I was playing. Like I said, my whole goal of this deck was I wanted to abuse Gotchi. So I wanted to make a Gotchi, make all my stuff big, and then I just wanted to set up as much back row as possible to be able to, you know, put my opponent in an unfavorable position, force them to burn resources so then I can summon Hyperion later. So we run the 2 bottomless. It's really nice versus like the plant matchup and even the mirror match. This card comes up quite a bit. And then we of course run 2 Solemn Warning. This card is absolutely necessary in like almost every deck. It's an amazing card. Yeah, it doesn't really need much explanation. And then on top of that, we got the other Solemn for the Solemn package. We got Solemn Judgment. Yeah, this card is obviously insane. Can just stop anything. I will say that, you know, running the Solemn package with Shine Balls does mean your life points do get a little low, so you got to be kind of wary of that. Then we got the Torrential Tribute. Obviously, really good card. It's a board wipe on your opponent's turn. Feels really good. Synergizes really well with TGs as well, because you can just like set one and then they think they're safe to summon, and then you just, you know, blow up your own TG. Doesn't matter because you just get a search in the end phase. Lastly, we got a single copy of Trap Dust Shoot, just because this card just wins games on its own. It's really, really powerful to just drop on your opponent and, you know, make them take a look. So look at their hand. You can make a whole game plan off that. Can win games. You know, nothing's better than Shine Ball, than Venus Gotchi, and then Trap Dust Shoot. Ooh, turn 1. Nothing better. Nothing better. All right. We'll move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we run 1 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon main deck. There's a reason for this. It's just because, like, if you run into a deck like Kar Curry, for example, a lot of Kar Curry decks, they have to main the Cyber Dragon as like a combo piece. So like they want to extend. So they use that to combo off into a bunch of synchros. You Monster Reborn their own Cyber Dragon, and then now you just clean their whole board. It comes up. It's really strong. That, and there's a world where, you know, you somehow get a Cyber Dragon, or your opponent leaves a Cyber Dragon on field, you wipe their board and they don't expect it in game 1. So it's really nice. You can, you know, take your opponent's Catasters with this too. So that's really good too, because Catasters are really strung out to like a lot of the agent cards because they're all light. So yeah. Then we have 4 Exceeds. We have 1 number 17 Leviathan Dragon, 1 Leviair the Sea Dragon, and 2 Gotchi Gotchi. Gotchi is like the best card in the deck, honestly. It's so hard to get rid of and makes all your stuff big. Leviair is probably a contender for the best extra deck card as well, just because you banish your agents so frequently for like Hyperion, like effect to summon or effect to pop. So bringing that stuff back feels really good. Or even like bringing back a banished Thunder King that was banished off of BLS. But yeah, this is a pretty standard package. You're not going to see anything else too crazy. For the synchros, we run 1 Trish. Trishula comes up if you, with like Venus, you can actually just make Trishula off of like Striker Venus, because you have you special Striker, you normal Venus, you get 2 Shine Ball, and that's 4. So like 2 Shine Ball plus the Venus and the Striker makes 9. So you can make Trish pretty easily in this deck. And you know, obviously this card's nuts. We got 1 Scrap Dragon. You have to run it. This card is essential for 2011. I mean, in general, it's just kind of an essential card. It's really, really powerful. 1 Stardust Dragon, again, another essential synchro, protects your boards. Just a really nice card. Black Rose, this is my favorite card in the game. It's an incredible synchro monster. It deals with your opponent's stuff so well. Like, I don't know, like I said, I traded a Black Rose for 5 of my opponent's cards at the YCS back in the day, and I've never forgot that moment because of how just powerful this card is. So I know you're looking at my extra deck right now and you're thinking, where's the ghost rares? Okay, listen. This is something you guys need to hear. And it's going to be tough to hear. It's going to be tough to accept. All right. But ghost rares are an ugly rarity. I know. It sounds crazy to say, but in my opinion, I just think that I want to look at the picture of the card and not the picture of the card. So do I want to spend 7 times the money for half the art? No. Ancient Sacred Wyvern, this card lets you OTK. If you don't know what this card does, it gains attack points equal to the difference in life points over your opponent. So like if you have 2,000 more life points than your opponent, this card has like 2,000 more attack points. It's at 41. So the way you use it is you like attack with everything else first, and then this is the last card you attack with because it goes up and down based on how much life points you have. The only difficulty with this card is since you're running Venus and Shine Balls, you're always going to be like 1,500 down. So you got to make sure that like you're making this when you can like attack with a bunch of other stuff first. Otherwise, this card's not going to be too relevant. It needs a light tuner and then a non-tuner. So like this could be made with like Venus plus Venus Warwolf and like an Availer or something like that. There's weird ways to summon it, but if you get it out in the right circumstance, it can just win the game in a single turn, which makes this card so powerful. I absolutely love this card. Bryanek, it's just another extra deck staple. Gotta run it. Orient Dragon, I actually love this card. I think Orient Dragon is absolutely broken. I think that every deck that could run this card should, because there's just so many circumstances where you need to out like a Catasaur or something your opponent has that's really pesky, and I think discarding for Bryanek feels bad. This card just does it for free. It deals with it for free, doesn't cost you anything. So yeah, I love this card. I think it's super strong. All right, then we have Catasaur. Doesn't need an explanation, just deals with stuff. Really pesky to get rid of, really pesky for your opponent, and honestly really pesky to deal with if your opponent makes it. This card's so powerful. Then we have TG Wonder Magician. This card, when it's summoned, you get to target a back row and destroy it, which is really nice. And then when this card's destroyed, you get to draw a card. So it has like a card trooper. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty versatile. I really like this card just as like a way to clear back row. It's also a level 5 tuner. So there is a world where like you special summon a Warwolf, right? Like you can go like special striker, and then you have 2 Warwolves, so you can go 2 Warwolf summons, sync for 5 first, pop a back row, then sync for 8, which isn't bad. And then lastly, we have 1 copy of Armory Arm. You definitely run this just because Armory Arm on BLS with 2 face-up monsters. This card's really easy to make in this deck, and it also just can like blow your opponent out if you have BLS. If they have 2 face-up attack position monsters and Armory Arm is equipped to BLS, it's game. So yeah, think about that. Pretty good. All right, lastly, we'll go on to the side deck. So this is one of the key things that I think made this deck so good back in the day. And it was when I was playing the deck, I had a core strategy in the YCS, and it was at the end of game 2, no matter what matchup I was against, unless it was like I was already in a very favorable matchup, but most of the time I would just side out all 5 of my TGs and my BLS. I just side them out. I know siding out BLS kind of sucks, but if you replace it with cards that are just really, really good for your matchup, it feels really good to just always have 6 cards to side in, which is how I approached it, and it worked very, very well. It gave a lot of decks a run for their money, and it's honestly hard to deal with, and you just have 6 cards in that are really good. So we'll start. We have 2 Cyber Dragon. This is just for the Car Curry matchup. Also, in the event that like it's just a generic good card to side in, right? So like, if you are siding out the TG package to make your matchup better, but you need other monsters and you don't really know what like to put in, this card's just a generic 2100 beater that you can drop. Like I said, outs Catasaur. yeah, it's just a decent card. And then this was another MVP at that YCS. I know it's weird to remember all this back in the day, but I had a really good run at YCS Kansas City. And this card was one of the big contributors. King Tiger Wengu, if you think about it, if you go against Tengu Plants and you summon this card, especially if Gachi's already established on your board, and so like this thing's a 2100 monster, Tengu Plants can't out it. They literally cannot out it if this thing is boosted by Gachi. If it isn't boosted by Gachi, they have to have Tengu or Thunder King. So like this plus warning just wins the game, because every other card in Tengu Plants cannot be normal summoned through this. It can't. It's absolutely cracked. So can't be normal, can't be special. Like Tour Guide immediately dies. You know, Glow Bulb, Spore, Dandy, everything. So this card just walls off Tengu Plant so hard. It's absolutely worth running. So I loved playing this card back in the day, and I still think I would, just because of how good it was with Gachi versus the plant matchup. Then we have 3 copies of Max C. No, one of them's not an ulti. Don't flame. You know, I didn't want to spend the $700 on the third or whatever it is. Yeah, Max C. Anytime you run into a deck that's synchroing a lot, special summoning a lot, you want to put this card in. Again, I liked it in the side just because of the fact that if it's dead in the game 1, you don't have to worry about it, and if it's relevant, then you just side in 3 in game 2, and it's not a huge deal. But yeah, this is like, I think every deck in 2011 needs to be siding or maining Maxi. One more hand trap. We got 2 DD Crow. I like this for a generic. It's like generically good versus plants to like get rid of their tuners, but I also like this for Dark World, just banishing the Grapha. Yeah, it's really strong. To be honest, like, I just think this is one of the most generic answers to deal with Dark World, because Dark World, honestly, without Grapha is nothing. It doesn't really do anything. So if you keep that in mind, and as soon as Grapha hits the graveyard, you just crow it. Even if it's popping one of your cards, who cares? You just want to get rid of Grapha as a resource, and if it's gone, your opponent really isn't playing the game. So that's all that really matters to me, is just getting rid of that Grapha. You side the third MST. This is also not only for playing against like back row decks that are running a lot of floodgates, so like maybe you run into a skill drain deck, but you also want to run this for hitting your opponent's like gates of Dark World. So this is another weird card you side in just for Dark World, but hitting gates after they banish for cost feels really good. So MST is another good card for the Dark World matchup. 2 Leeching Light. This is for the mirror. Let me paint you a picture. All right, your opponent has any monster on the field, like, you know, let's say they make Shine Ball Gachi or something like that, and then you you special a striker, you normal a Venus, you get 3 Shine Ball in attack position, and you Leeching the Light. You can just do so much damage in that turn, especially if you like synchro into like a Bryo and like bounce. Like, yeah, there's so much you can do. This card just OTKs. This is actually one of the cards I remember losing to at the YCS, and it was because my opponent had double Leeching. So like, I had just, I think it was like a Thunder King and a Gachi was my board, and my opponent just like double Leeching me and just swung over for game. It was like over 6k damage, and I was at 6500 because I used like my Shine Balls or whatever. It was just like crazy how powerful this card is, how it comes up. But I would mostly recommend it if you can put a lot of monsters on the field, because, you know, it pumps all monsters you control. So that's a powerful effect that you should like consider when using this card. And then lastly, again, this deck hates back row. So if you run into a trap heavy deck, just side out your traps and side in Royal Decree. Your monsters are really strong enough to deal with pretty much anything. So if you're just struggling to chew through that back row, put in the third MST, throw in 3 Decree, and I guarantee you're not going to have an issue with that back row anymore. So I think this card's essential. I think it's really good. Also, the Dusa version, come on, boys, it looks so good. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for the deck profile. I will go into a price breakdown in a second, so yeah. All right, guys, I wanted to give a little price breakdown here. This is the deck. Now, I know that some of you guys out here, if you're like me, you know, you go to a party, right? You meet a girl, okay? She's a plain Jane, you know, she's pretty average, but you know, she's telling you about her career. She's like, oh yeah, I'm an astronaut and a doctor. My whole life's together, everything's great. And you're like, yeah, that's cool, okay? And then you're like, let me grab you a drink. So you walk over to the punch bowl, and then the big titty goth GF comes behind you and dunks your head in that punch bowl, okay? And then you're just in love, right? That goth GF, she's foil cards, okay? Sometimes, you know, when you want to go for a budget deck, you go for the budget deck, but you have a choice between getting, you know, the plain Janes, the commons, or, you know, you go for the foil cards, okay? And I know what the right choice is. I think we all know what the right choice is, boys. But sometimes you end up going with the big titty goth GF, right? So because of that, I wanted to show you guys a build of this deck. So like what it looks like in the cart. If you keep everything shiny, but we're not going max rarity, okay? So everything has to be foil in this deck, with the exception of Trap Dust Shoot, because it only came super as a foil, and that is not very budget, so we had to go common on that. But for the sake of keeping you guys sane and happy, I wanted to show you guys that you could build this deck pretty much all foil, and it's still very affordable. If you do decide to reduce the foils of some of these cards, you can save quite a bit of money on the deck. So I'll probably do 2 different versions of this cart so you can see. But this one right here, this is the shiny. Everything is shiny. You know, we got the ultra rare Mind Control. We got the ultra rare Strikers. These run up quite a bit, actually. They're like almost $4 or $5 for the Strikers and the Warwolves to be foil. If they're common, they're like 50 cents each. So not that bad. Went with the super rare Christia, $1.48. Not bad. Also, I wanted to make sure that I only used stores that had like quite a few sales, like over 1,000 at least. Thunder King here. I went with Gold Series 3. This card's expensive. This is probably one of the more expensive cards you can get in this deck. It's worth picking up, absolutely, for the format. This is like one of the best cards of the format. Really, really strong. And also keep in mind, I'm not including side deck in here because side deck is whatever you want it to be. I don't want to tell you what to side. I'll show you my side deck as an example, but you know, you can decide. I think just showing main and extra is really the way to go when it comes to a price breakdown like this. But yeah, look, almost $9 for 2 gold rare Thunder King. This card is really, really spiked, honestly, in price from back before. Like gold rares were not this expensive. But yeah, if you want to go for shiny, you got to go here. You can go like half this price if you go commons. It's like $8 or something like that total for both. Maybe that's worth it to you. It's your call, you know. Can't tell you how to live your life. We got Gores. Cheapest one is like Secret, and honestly, Secret Gores is okay. I think it's the best looking one. So yeah, and then here, like I said, you know, $15 for the 3 Warwolf. If you go common, way cheaper. Dust Shoot. This card's an expensive common. It's like GOAT format, Edison format, retro formats are spiking. You know, this card, yeah, it's pricey. Effect Veiler, I went with the dude version. We got 3, but the other one, like I couldn't find them all from one seller without going stupid high in price. So for about $4 each, you can get Effect Veiler, a play set of them. This is kind of like a necessary evil, but like the nice thing about it is, especially with a lot of these cards up here, once you get them the one time, they like transition into almost every deck, especially with extra deck cards. Extra deck cards, like you see almost the same few extra deck cards in every deck. They're all generic and good, which feels really nice because then you're not like buying all this stuff every single time. And for the most part, the extra deck's actually like really cheap compared to other formats like Stardust Dragon. We got a super rare for $2.50. Got Torrential Tribute. We went with the Battles of Legend, the ultra rare for $4, right? MST, the dual terminal. You know, we went fancy. They're $1. So you can get DT Ultra MSTs for $1. I think that's a pretty good deal if you're looking for a shiny MST. Heavy Storm. I think honestly if you're not gonna go common, then Legendary Collection Ultra. That's the one I use. It's pretty cheap, and you know, looks really nice. Ancient Sacred Wyvern. This card honestly probably needs a reprint as well. But yeah, you can get the secret rare from Legendary Collection for like $7. That's one of the more expensive cards. You also could opt to not run this if you wanted to. You could run a third Gachi. Honestly, it's not even that bad. Or you could, you know, I don't know. There's like other cards you could go for if you don't want to spend the $7 on Ancient Sacred Wyvern. Like, that's totally fine. TG Wonder Magician came Ultra in Battles of Legend and is $1.50. Totally fine. Look at this beautiful prismatic secret rare for $1.99. You can't get a better value than that, boys. Come on. Psalm Warning. I personally think Dusa warnings look incredible. I think they're like the best printing of the card outside of Ulti. That being said, supers are way cheaper. Or not way cheaper, like probably a couple dollars cheaper each. But yeah, you can go for super warnings for $2. And these will obviously translate to every deck you play in 2011. We have Ally of Justice Catastor costing us a whopping 19 cents, paired with our boy Dual Terminal Bryanak from Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 for 31 cents. You know, you can't beat that. This is one of the more expensive cards in the extra deck too. A $3 Levier. I mean, it's $3. It's not that bad. The new secret rare Armory Arm, also from the Hidden Arsenal set, $1.60. It's crazy. We got Dual Devastator Black Rose, 43 cents, another ultra rare. So like, as you can see, like, we're keeping this deck pretty shiny, and we're not really costing ourselves all that much money. Most of the money cost comes from like shipping and stuff like that, but like, I just want to give you guys an idea of price. Like, you can pick up these cards from other people. You don't have to go through TCG Player. I just wanted to show you what this looks like. Yeah, but Chimera Tech Dragon just came in Ghost from the Past 2, 40 cents. Look at like this whole agent package, like literally the whole core of the deck. Hyperion, 3 Shine Ball, 3 Venus, 3 Earth, and the Chimera Tech. $5. Like, that's pretty good, right? Like, if your whole deck core costs you $5, like, and that's also why I think now is like a really good time to pick this stuff up, because like, this is so low. In a world where 2011 becomes as popular as it should, because it's the best format, you're gonna see, I think you'll see these actually rise. So they're pretty nice penny stocks, in all honesty. BLS went with a super rare, about $3. Orient Dragon, the Legendary Collection Ultra. I think this card should be worth more, to be honest. I think it's like really good. So, but yeah, that, like, you know, another $4 here. 50 cents a Gachi, no problem. Scrap Dragon, 36. Solemn Judgment. This card is expensive. It's weird. It's so expensive. Like, every copy is expensive. I went with the ultra rare from Battle of Legend for $8. Luckily, it's a one of. You only need one for the whole time you play it. Most people already have this card, but yeah, if you need it, $8. Like, crazy to me. Go with the starter deck ultra rare Dark Hole. It's ultra rare, and guess what? It's $1. Not a problem. Then we have a super rare Honest and a super rare Creature Swap, where, you know, $3 for everything. Not too bad. There's the last Veiler. And then we got the dual terminal Trishula, 67 cents. You know, I mean, you can't even really tell the difference between original DT and the new one. And one is worth like $1 bajillion. The other one is 67 cents. So you tell me. Then lastly, Legendary Collection Bottomless for 79 cents a piece. That's a really good deal, honestly. I think that's a nice deal. But yeah, all in all, the total comes out to about $141, 21 of that being shipping. So you can see with an entire foiled out deck, like everything possibly foiled is foiled outside of, like I said, only Trap Dust Shoot is the one card that you kind of have to keep common unless you want to drop the like $200 or whatever on a super rare. But yeah, all this is about 120 bucks, and I'll kind of remake this deck in my card again real quick to show you what it looks like if you go like the bare minimum, like commons, everything, like trying to keep this as cheap as possible. So yeah, we'll meet back again in a second. All right, guys, we're back. And if you look at our total price, as you can see, it saved us about 40 or 60 bucks, depending, or like, you know, basically 40 bucks if you want to kind of count the fact that like if you don't want to count the shipping, right? So like we were at 120 before, or you know, it was like 120 or 140 with shipping, and now it's 80 or 100 with shipping. So we're saving a little bit here, but yeah, I'll give you a breakdown. So we went with the common BLS, came common in the structure deck. We went with the common Heavy Storm, like, you know, goes up to about $2 or whatever, so saves a couple bucks here. I kept the Super Christia. I mean, it's only $1.48. Gores can't go lower than this, honestly. It's weirdly super expensive. Konami, reprint this card. TG Warwolf, 30 cents a piece. If we go with the super, so that saves us about, or with the common, so that saves us about 15 bucks. Effect Veiler as a common, you can pick up 3 of those for $1.99 each, so that also saved us about 10 bucks or so. Kept the rest of this. I mean, you could probably go common torrential. This could save a little bit, but I mean, like $3 for the ultra I just think is worth it. This card's still pricey. Again, we could opt to cut this to save another $8 and then play like a third gachi, which is 50 cents, so that's totally fine if you want to go that route. Then we have, yeah, TG Wonder Magician, Thunder Kings. When you buy the raw yellow mega packs, had to go through separate sellers because like no one had multiples, but $4 each. That's not nearly as bad as $8 each, but they will be common, so you know, you gotta suffer through it. Yeah, for the most part, everything in here I kept the same. Nothing was like too crazy pricey. Strikers though, 65 cents each, so we grabbed 2 of those, going with our gachi for $3, worth it. Solemn, there's no cheaper version for Solemn, so hopefully you already have your Solemns. If not, then you know, I don't know. That I thought it was so crazy that this card was as much as it is. Yeah, but for the most part, everything is back to normal. You see 55 cards, so 40 main, 15 extra. Only 80 to 100 bucks, depending on if you're buying through TCG Player or going through like actual people or not. You know, you could probably pick up the whole deck for about 80 bucks. But yeah, all in all, really cheap deck, really good option. I think it's probably worth the extra 20 bucks just to make it shiny, like all shiny, and make it look good. But again, that's up to you how you want to go about it. This deck probably gets a bit cheaper if you decide to opt for the ultra, or just opt for like as many commons as humanly possible. I still think it's like worth like, you know, $1 for dual terminal ultra MSTs. Like, you know, in some cases I think the ultras are like on the same price as a common, and that, or like the shinier versions are on the same price or like a little bit more, and I just think it's like worth it. But you know, just depends on the type of player you are. So yeah, that's it for my price breakdown. You now kind of clearly see that this deck really isn't that bad of a price. A really great starter deck if you want to get into the format. It's always going to be good, always going to be good. So it's a really safe bet. And I would highly recommend it. All right, guys, that is it for this first deck profile price breakdown type video. Let me know in the comments if there's anything any deck from the website that you want me to go over. Maybe you want to understand the play styles a little bit. Maybe you want to understand just like why I built it the way I did, because in some cases those are my original builds. So yeah, if you're curious about a deck, want a little bit more in-depth detail about it, don't be afraid, drop a comment and I'll take your suggestions. You know, we'll just go on to the next one. I definitely intend on doing more of these with price breakdown and everything. So make sure you subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff. I really appreciate the support. Thanks so much for watching and have a great time dueling today.